Elon Musk was mid-sentence about colonizing Mars when an 8-year-old girl dropped a truth bomb. So powerful, the entire internet stopped scrolling. This wasn't just a question, it was a revelation. And what happened next? Even we didn't see it coming. The auditorium was a cathedral of modern ambition, its walls vibrating with the collective hum of 1,000 devices, smartphones, tablets, cameras, all trained on the man who had become synonymous with the future itself. Elon Musk stood at the center, bathed in the sterile glow of stage lights. His posture relaxed, but his presence electric. He spoke in measured tones about reusable rockets that could slash the cost of space travel, about neural implants that might one day merge human consciousness with artificial intelligence, about a tomorrow so dazzling it hurt to imagine. The audience, engineers in Patagonia vests, venture capitalists tapping out silent calculations on their thighs, journalists poised to distill his words into headlines, leaned forward as one, hungry for the next revelation. Then, movement at the back of the room. A small hand, barely visible above the sea of heads, shot upward. Not the practiced raise of a reporter angling for a scoop, not the eager wave of a fan clutching a Tesla keychain. Just a child's hand, stubborn and unyielding, attached to a girl in a faded Big Sister t-shirt, her fingers gripping a spiral notebook like it was the only solid thing in the world. The moderator, caught off guard by the unexpected interruption, hesitated before lowering the microphone to her level. The question that followed wasn't about profit margins or technological hurdles. It wasn't about Mars or Bitcoin or the next IPO. It was simpler, sharper, a scalpel slicing through the layers of hype and ambition. Her voice didn't waver. If you're so smart and you can build rockets and robots, how come you can't fix the world so kids like my brother don't go to bed hungry? The silence was immediate, total, the kind of quiet that feels louder than noise. Somewhere in the room a pen clattered to the floor. A camera shutter snapped, the sound grotesquely amplified in the stillness. Every eye flicked to Musk, waiting for the quip, the deflection, the confident promise of some futuristic solution. But it didn't come. His face, usually a masterclass in controlled expression, whether smirking at a challenger or deadpanning through an earnings call, did something unprecedented. It went utterly blank. Not the blank of a man processing data, not the blank of someone suppressing irritation. The blank of a man who had just been handed a question his billions, his engineers, his relentless ambition couldn't answer. For the first time in his public life, Elon Musk had no words, and in that silence, the world leaned in. Samira Navarro hadn't come to the Future of Tech Summit to make history. She was 8 years old, from a neighborhood in Bakersfield where gas money was a luxury and free tickets from a literacy nonprofit were the only reason she'd gotten in the door. She didn't know what going viral meant. She didn't know her question would be dissected on morning shows, debated in congressional hearings, or splashed across social media with captions like, "The one question that stumped a genius." She just knew her brother Luis cried sometimes, when he thought she wasn't listening, his stomach aching from the hunger that no amount of her pretending she wasn't hungry too could fix. But the world heard her, really heard her. Within hours, the clip had been viewed millions of times, not because of Musk's reaction, though that was seismic, but because of the brutal, unfiltered truth in Samira's words. Teachers played it in classrooms, pausing to wipe their eyes. Nurses passed it around hospital break rooms, their scrubs still smudged with the exhaustion of double shifts. A single mom in Detroit filmed a tearful TikTok in her car, whispering, "That baby just said what we're all too tired to scream." And Elon? For once, he didn't tweet, didn't spin, didn't reframe the narrative. He vanished, not from the public eye, but from the script. Behind the scenes, his calls weren't to crisis PR teams or sycophantic investors. They were to people who'd spent decades fighting hunger. An old friend from his childhood in Pretoria, who ran a soup kitchen. A woman in LA who'd turned a food truck into a mobile pantry. A pediatrician who'd been begging Silicon Valley to look up from their algorithms and see the kids slipping through the cracks, and then quietly, he did the one thing no one expected. He listened. Luis Navarro was 7 years old, and pain was his normal. His rare metabolic disorder meant every meal was a gamble, every bite a potential trip to the ER. He'd spent more nights in hospital beds than in his own, hooked up to machines that beeped accusations. You're not digesting right. You're not growing right. You're not right. When he saw the video of his sister standing in front of all those adults, asking the question he'd whispered into his pillow for years, something inside him cracked open. Not with anger, with hope. It took him 2 days to write the letter. His fingers, stiff from his condition, cramped around the pencil, but he refused help. You already did your part, he told Samira, pushing her away when she tried to spell a word for him. This one's mine. When Elon opened it, he wasn't prepared for the quiet devastation of it, the lack of blame, the absence of rage. I'm not mad at you, Luis had written, his child's handwriting wobbling across the page. I just think people forget about kids like me sometimes. That letter, more than any boardroom presentation or shareholder demand, was what changed everything. What happens when we stop performing and start doing? The foundation Elon launched wasn't named after him. There were no splashy galas, no red carpet. Reveals. Just medically tailored meals, designed by nutritionists who'd spent years ignored, delivered to families like Samira's. No press, no pats on the back. A pilot program in 3 cities expanded to 10. A high school in Ohio started a Hard Questions Club, their first project a letter-writing campaign to local leaders. What are you doing about the hungry kids you don't see? A retired mechanic in Fresno emptied his life savings to feed the children in his apartment complex, scrawling on a brown paper bag. If a girl can ask, I can do this much. Samira kept writing too. Her stories, once fantastical tales of jellyfish skies and banana peel spaceships, grew teeth. She finished her book, Things That Shouldn't Be Heavy But Are, and slid it under her mom's pillow one night. The dedication read, To everyone who didn't look away when it got uncomfortable. And Elon? He never gave a grand speech about it. But in an interview months later, uncharacteristically subdued, he said something that lingered. We spend so much time building the future, we forget the present is on fire. That little girl didn't just ask me a question. She handed me a mirror. What's the question you wish someone in power would answer? Drop it below. And if this story hit you, share it. Not for the likes, but for the kids still waiting for someone to listen. Because sometimes the most revolutionary act isn't building the future, it's fixing the now.